Welcome to Cover Report Live. I'm Dan Odess, your CEO of GlobalPro, here for a special report. Obviously, we are watching Hurricane Helene, and we want to make sure that you stay informed with the latest information. As you can see over my shoulder, we are watching this thing very closely to see where it's going to be making landfall. And let's move beyond just the simple preparation. Obviously, there's a lot of information about that, but I want to make sure that you understand what we have done for community associations of businesses and the local communities over the years, so that you know what to expect once this storm makes landfall and what you should be doing as a policyholder. Most importantly, we've managed more than $1 billion in loss and damage, and we speak from a tremendous amount of experience when we say to you, let us help you through this process. If anything that we have seen over the hundreds of thousands of claims and the thousands of associations and businesses we have represented for more than a decade, is that unfortunately so many policyholders fall victim to the antics and the failures and pitfalls within policies and within the actual enforcement of those conditions within the policies and the claims manuals and the tactics that these insurance companies at times take when you're at your worst. And this is a situation where you are certainly at your worst. Why? Because not only are you damaged, but the community around you is damaged and is suffering from loss, and many people are uninsured for the types of damages that they may have had or don't have adequate insurance, or even worse than that, which I believe to be even worse, is that you bought the insurance, but your insurance company isn't in fact doing what it's supposed to be doing, which is helping you in the recovery, which is further frustrating the process. So those that who even should have access to capital to help relieve some of the stresses on our local municipalities and federal and state funded entities, and now putting further pressure on them because their insurance companies aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And while those people could be helping the community recover because they have the capital in order to which make sure that they can recover themselves, they suddenly are straining and stressing the resources that are there, that are being supplied by the state, local, and federal governments, as well as organizations that have come to the areas to assist. And the local communities, as well as the federal and state, need local representatives to help in those efforts. But again, if you're not getting what you're supposed to be getting from your insurance company, then again, your focus is not going to be on helping your neighbor or your community, but it's going to be on making sure that you have what you need in order to get on and your recovery efforts. So some major issues that we see with storms like this is, number one, it's terribly unpredictable. Right now, 100-mile-an-hour winds. There's anything from 3 to 20-foot storm surge anywhere up and down the west coast of Florida, the Gulf Coast area. But they're expecting these winds to continue to penetrate inland into Georgia, Mississippi area, Alabama, up and towards Tennessee. It's going to stall out, spin around, and then head towards the northeast. So wide sweeping area that's going to be impacted. In many different ways you're going to get impacted, whether it's from the rain, whether it's from the wind, whether it's from debris falling or flying, whether it's in one of the most devastating things that we've seen in most storms, the flooding. The flooding is sudden at times and not gradual, depending on the exasperation of certain utilities in the area that are installed in order to control the rise and fall of sea level, as well as canals and other estuaries where water is being retained. Suddenly you have these flash flooding issues, and you get storm surge that can't flow out to sea because the water is being pushed inward. So there's a lot of things that you need to be considering and thinking of, and how it may impact your local actual area. And at times we do see flooding further inland, and that flooding occurs because, again, that water is being pushed up into these storm drain systems, into canals, and causing congestion. And that congestion leads to flooding in other areas where you might not have flood insurance, speaking to one of the topics and issues that I mentioned earlier today. But I also want to talk about some of the tactics that we've seen from some of these insurance companies in prior storms, because I think that's utterly important. And it's relevant, particularly where this storm is going. Some of the things that we saw in the fallout of Hurricane Ian and Michael, and some of those issues that we saw with regards to some of the reports that were being furnished and published by insurance companies. But this wasn't the first time we've seen this. We've seen this in so many other storms previously. I would say going as far back as, let's go to 2012, Superstorm Sandy. We saw an engineering forensic company come out and fraudulently manipulate reports and try to ascertain or assess damages that would otherwise be covered by private insurance. Now suddenly they're pushing and trying to place the blame on federal insurance. The federal flood program, which again was exasperated by the tremendous amount of flooding that was going on, further complicating it, delaying the claims process, creating conflicts between your own insurance company and the federal flood program. Then you see the use of estimating software and utilizing it in a way that it was not intended by choosing the wrong pricing databases or looking for coverage issues that otherwise don't exist and creating this convoluted defense regarding wind-driven rain versus hurricanes that have both wind and rain in them, because we know that. And in perverting the language of those policies to subject you as a policyholder to either underpayment, denial, or delay in your claims process. All of these things are avoidable, okay? All of these things are avoidable by making sure you have proper representation. And if you're a board member or you're if you're in the insurance industry and you portray yourself as an advocate for a policyholder, yet you don't hold a license as a public adjuster or a duly licensed attorney to represent the interest of a policyholder, well, then you don't have, as far as I am concerned, in my opinion, the legal right to, number one, say that you can assist them in any way whatsoever with this claim, and certainly are not going to do the things that a licensed public adjuster could do and should be doing for a policyholder. And going back to a point I was about to make and then moved on from that, is that as a fiduciary, a board member, a property manager, or a business owner, operator, you have fiduciary obligations to yourself, to your business, to your community association. If you're not hiring representation, as you would if you're dealing with a legal battle or you're filing your taxes, you're doing many of these other different things where you hire a licensed accountant who's competent and understands the intricacies of your business or your community association. It's just like you hire a community association attorney, an attorney that actually is experienced in dealing with community association issues. And in Florida, there is a set of laws specific to a community association that are important to be able to navigate and deal with. But many of those laws have nothing to do with insurance and the actual recovery. So when we see community association attorneys or law firms represent themselves as, the viable decision or the adequate representative for a community association, it's disheartening because you don't have the expertise in dealing with actual property insurance. But you would hire them otherwise to deal with administrative issues and corporate issues that you might have in your business or community association, not your insurance issues. Again, we have specific skill sets and we have specific knowledge of the actual claims process. So as a fiduciary, think about the next time that you have a loss, whether it's from Hurricane Helene or others, and who is representing your interest in your claim. Certainly not your insurance agent and broker. We've covered this topic exhaustively in many prior episodes where we can point out that the Florida statute on insurance agents and brokers, it makes no reference to actually administering and handling actual insurance claims. They're not there to adjust claims. They're there to sell you a product. That's the service they provide. It's not handling claims adjustment, which is the role of a public adjuster on behalf of a policy holder. Now, there's other adjusters that are sent by insurance companies, which again do not represent your interest. So as a fiduciary, think to yourself, am I protecting the financial interest of my association and me if I don't have a licensed public adjuster representing our interest in the claims process? When the insurance company has licensed representatives representing its interest and my insurance agent or broker is not licensed to represent me, and my community association attorney is representing me to handle community association issues, not insurance claims, because they don't adjust claims. They're not coming out to your property, evaluating your damages, putting a full scope of it, evaluating your policies, your laws that are required in order to be the understanding of it is required in order to be able to simulate your loss and damage and make a claim on your behalf. No, none of those individuals represent your interest. Only a licensed public adjuster can. A claims professional at GlobalPro can do those services for you. We're going to go out. We're going to ensure that the claim is properly reported. Most often, that's the first mistake most community associations particularly make because they don't actually look at their policy to see who they should be making the claim to or what entity they need to report it to. they call their agent or broker. That's not consistent with the policy language that you have in your policy that dictates that you should be calling some third party or the insurance companies directly in order to make the claim. So it's a first stumbling issue. Now, what you say to them is very important. So we want to make sure that you are accurately and properly and timely making the claim. Not immediately making it, but promptly making it. We're also going to go out, we're going to fly drones, we're going to get into unit by unit inspections, we're going to get on the roofs, in the attic space, in the crawl space, wherever we need to get to evaluate your damaged and undamaged portion of your claim, which is very, very important because most policies require that actual process to occur. Again, something your agent, your community association attorney, the insurance company's adjusters are not going to do for you. They're not going to represent your interest in that process. Also, too, in times like this with extreme storms like we see with Helene, it's important that you engage certain consultants or experts when necessary. It doesn't necessarily mean you need an engineer to evaluate all the damages at your property and run up a massive bill. By the way, some of that cost could be, and not if not all of it, recoverable in your insurance if it's, again, helping you evaluate your loss and damage for the purposes of reconstruction and rebuilding your property and put you in a pre-loss condition. So we're going to make sure that we identify the adequate representatives or the representatives that are competent enough to represent your claim and your damages now and in the future. Worst case scenario, let's say it gets to litigation or appraisal or one of these other disputed realms, we want to make sure that you have a competent individual on day one helping and assisting and evaluating those damages where needed. So we're going to do all of that, and as well as meet with the adjusters for the insurance company and report things to your broker if necessary upon your next renewal or whatever may go on with that, but doing it in a way that is in your best interest. We want to make sure that when that representative from the insurance company comes out to the property to evaluate the loss and damage on behalf of the insurance company, not you, that you have a representative, us, to deal with the issues that may arise or to ensure that they have proper access. And if there's issues, to be able to articulate what those issues are to ensure that you are continuing to comply with your obligations, making sure that the insurance company is in fact timely doing their inspection evaluation, making sure that they're actually sending you the requisite coverage letters, reservation of rights, and documents that you need to fill out and file in order to comply with your obligation under the policy, as well as making sure that the insurance company is doing what it's supposed to be doing in a timely manner. So there's so many different things that occur at that point in time. But also, and concurrently, we're evaluating your damages. We're going out and putting together that estimate and simulating, as I mentioned before, and making sure that if a coverage issue comes up, that we can properly address it in our own documentation, our own estimate and evaluation, separating coverages and buildings and locations, and going through the intricacies of these things, both for businesses and community association, is everything we do and so much more. We want to help you and advise you through the process of negotiating with the insurance company on coverage issues, as well as scopes of damages and pricing. Why? Because just like if you were to go out to get a bid to do construction, we may evaluate things one way and they're going to evaluate it the other way. How do you think they're going to do it on their behalf? Why? Let me try to explain this a little bit more in detail, right? If your insurance company's losses are paying you for your damages, because obviously they're collecting the premium, which is their revenue and profits, and if they pay you money, that's a loss. So, obviously there's been enough evidence in the world today and studies done that are more recently came out about a lot of this stuff, which we talk about in an amazing article, which I recommend you check out online. And on our website, if you go to globalpro.com, it was up behind me here just a minute ago, and you go to the resource section, you'll check out our blog. Go to our blog, and in the resource section, we have the Storm Center, and on the Griffin blog, we have this actual article that we just put out, which talks about recent complications and issues in the insurance claims process, and it breaks down some of the things historically that we have seen, some of the misrepresentations that we believe the insurance companies have made and lobbied for legislation that have unfortunately succumbed to the pressures of the insurance companies, passing some anti-consumer legislation regarding litigation and various other things. And so it's important that you fully understand who it is that's representing you and what they're going to do and not going to do from you from the time that you have a loss or damages to the time of your recovery. We want to make sure your interests are protected. So again, if you're a fiduciary, you have suffered loss and damages, ask yourself, are you truly protecting the financial interest of your association if you do not have a licensed claims professional from GlobalPro representing your interests? And the answer is absolutely not. We've been doing this for more than a decade. We've managed more than $1 billion in loss and damage for hundreds of thousands of policyholders, thousands of community associations across the country. We are here to assist you. We were on the ground during Michael, Ian, Irma, Wilma, you name it, many storms prior to this and many storms to come. We are in your community helping and assisting recovery efforts, not only on a fee-for-service basis, but also on a charitable level. Our GlobalPro Cares Foundation will be very active in assisting and helping in many different ways, whether it's collecting clothing, food, money, to making sure that your community has what it needs and doing our part. And we hope all of you do it as well, whether you're in the immediate loss or damage, in the immediate area of impact, or outside in the comfort of your home with all of your, the air conditioning, electricity, and the utilities that you need in order to live, and others don't. So make sure you do your part. We'll be publishing many ways that you can get involved in these recovery efforts because there's a lot more to come. We want to make sure that you stay tuned here every single week. We're going to give you special broadcasts. I think we'll probably have another broadcast before we hit our 200th episode, which is next week, right here, same time, same place on the Recovery Report Live, next Thursday, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be joined by some other GlobalPro staff that's going to be giving you a special message because we've been so appreciative of all of the interest in what we have going on here, in the information, and all of you that have tuned in over the years. I mean, literally amounts to like tens of thousands of minutes of streamed content and thousands of people that have tuned in. And to all of our subscribers and followers on all our various social media, thank you again. And I'm going to thank you again next week on our 200th episode for all of your support because this is what it's about, giving you actionable information, insurance news you can use for both your business and communities as well as in your personal lives. So if there's anything we can do, 855-487-7475, let us know. We're going to be here watching this thing as it comes on shore. We're not sure yet. It's kind of wiggled a little bit. It went a little bit west. Now they're thinking it's going to go east. It's going to die out in the middle of the country, kind of the Tennessee area, perhaps, and then continue on in the northeast. And so you can imagine all of our offices on high alert right now. Our staff is ready and willing and able to assist you in all our recovery news. So continue to tune in, check out our social media, hit the subscribe button, like us and follow us on all our social media. And also, go check out that article. I'm telling you, go to theglobalpro.com, check out the Griffin blog. You'll see it right there at the top menu. Click on it. The first article that comes up, chock full of all kinds of information you as a policyholder can use, is also a quote from the CFO talking about the great benefit of hiring a claims professional like GlobalPro at the onset of a loss. So we hope that we can assist you in any way possible, whether it's reaching out and just giving you some tips and tricks to dealing with your claim, or full-on representation, making sure that your community association business has the information it needs. So reach out to us, let us know, and continue to tune in right here on the Recovery Report Live.